British Airways just raised the price of your miles on almost every single route, and they did it without changing a single number on your account statement, so your balance looks the same while the trip it buys gets smaller. American followed by tearing up its entire award chart, and United raised the bar for keeping your status by 25% in a single year. None of that showed up as a fee. It showed up the day you finally tried to book the trip you'd been saving for. There are 9 separate ways this is happening right now, and by the end you'll know exactly which ones already hit your account. Here's what they don't put on their homepage. Your miles balance can sit there for years looking completely unchanged, the same 5 or 6-digit number every time you log in, and still be worth a fraction of what it was when you earned it. Nobody moves the number down. They move what the number buys. In 2026, a stack of miles that used to cover a comfortable business class seat might only get you economy now, or force you into dates you never wanted, because the exchange rate between miles and real seats keeps shifting underneath you. This isn't one airline having a bad year. It's a pattern, and it has a name for each move. Airlines will call these moves modernization or aligning with market demand. Technically, the fine print you agreed to years ago probably allows almost all of it, but the result for you is the same no matter which word they choose. A given balance of miles buys noticeably less real travel in 2026 than it did just a few years back, especially once you're chasing a premium cabin seat or a long-haul route to see family. We're going to walk through 9 separate ways this happens, each one tied to a real airline and a real date, and then close with a 10-minute audit you can run today to find out exactly where your own miles stand. Trick number 1 is the one that broke the whole system open. For decades, frequent flyer programs worked off a published award chart. You could look up a route, a cabin, and a date, and know exactly how many miles it would cost, sometimes years in advance. That chart was the whole appeal. Miles felt like a currency with a real, printed exchange rate. American Airlines ended that. The airline scrapped its traditional A-Advantage award chart as it shifted toward what it calls dynamic pricing. And in the process, it eliminated the old saver categories that used to guarantee a low mileage floor for flexible travelers. When a program removes its own chart, it's telling you something important. It's admitting members were relying on those published numbers, and it's cutting that reliance loose on purpose. Delta and United went the same direction. Delta's SkyMiles program hasn't published a real chart in years, and United's own award levels are now described internally as estimates, not guarantees. If you've been holding on to a mental number for what a trip is supposed to cost in miles, that number came from a world that no longer exists at any of these 3 airlines. Once the chart disappears, the airline needs a new way to set the price. That's trick 2, and it's called dynamic award pricing. Instead of checking a table, the airline system looks at demand, the date, how many seats are left, and prices the mileage cost in real time, sometimes changing within the same day. United is a clear example. Business class awards to Europe can run 80,000 miles or more from the continental United States, but there's no floor anymore. The same route can cost noticeably more the following week if demand picks up, and there's no chart to appeal to when that happens. This is exactly backward from how this audience likes to plan a trip. You book early, you lock in a date, you expect the price to hold. Dynamic pricing punishes that instinct directly, because the deal you saw last month may simply not exist anymore by the time you're ready to book. But airlines didn't just change how much a seat costs. They changed how fast your balance grows to begin with. Airlines make real money selling miles to banks, who then hand them out through co-branded credit cards, bonus offers, and sign-up promotions. Over the last decade, that relationship has flooded the market with more points than ever, and reporting on this trend has described it plainly. Too many points, not enough seats. It works the same way a currency does when a government prints too much of it. When more units are chasing the same limited number of good seats, each unit is worth a little less, even if nothing about your own account changed. That's the quiet mechanism sitting underneath every dynamic price hike you just heard about in Trick 2. One thing coming up near the end of this list will look like good news on the surface, so remember this for later. How few miles you earn per trip. If you booked a smart, discounted fare, matters just as much as how many miles exist across the whole system, and that earning shortfall compounds every redemption problem you just heard about in Tricks 1 and 2. Airlines used to hand out miles based on distance. Fly further, earn more, no matter what you paid for the ticket. Most major programs have quietly replaced that with revenue-based earning, where the number of miles you get depends mainly on the dollars you spent, not the miles you flew. Under this system, a deeply discounted economy fare earns a small fraction of what a full fare or premium seat earns on the identical flight. If you're the kind of traveler who hunts for the best price, and a lot of retirees are, exactly because they have time and flexibility to wait for a deal, this system works against the exact habit that once served you well. The cheaper the fare, the slower your balance grows, and the longer it takes to reach the trip you were actually saving for. So the miles are harder to earn and pricier to spend when you finally do redeem them. Trick 5 is about what happens when you try to spend them somewhere other than the airline's own flights. Alliance partnerships used to be one of the best-kept secrets in this hobby. You could redeem miles from one airline on a partner carrier and often get outsized value for it. Programs have been quietly closing that door, sometimes with a surcharge, sometimes by shutting it entirely. Some carriers now add a surcharge of 15 to 40% on award tickets booked through an alliance partner instead of their own flights, on top of whatever the base mileage cost already is. One of the clearest examples happened last year. Emirates restricted its Skywards first-class award seats to its own Silver, Gold, and Platinum Elite members starting May 12, 2025, closing a redemption path that used to be open to any member, including people who transferred in points from a completely different program. That single change didn't touch Emirates' own award chart at all. It simply decided who was still allowed to use it. If dynamic pricing and partner blocks weren't enough on their own, the airlines also changed what it takes to keep the status that unlocks the best seats in the first place. United raised the spending required to earn Mileage Plus Elite status by about 25% in a single year, whether you qualify through co-branded card spending, flying, or a mix of both. The airline framed the change as giving the top tiers a more exclusive feel, which is a polite way of saying fewer people get to keep what they had. Delta made a quieter move with a similar effect. The airline cut the medallion qualifying dollars earned on more than 30% of its eligible partner fare classes, which hits hardest exactly the members who fly on partner airlines rather than Delta Metal itself. Stack those two changes together and you get a double squeeze. Your miles buy less, and the status that once got you a better seat, an earlier boarding group, or a waived bag fee is now harder to hold on to as well. That's not only a financial loss. For a traveler who cares about comfort and a smoother day at the airport, that's the exact benefit disappearing, and it's disappearing at the same moment the miles themselves are worth less. Every one of these tricks so far has been about spending or earning miles directly. The next one is about the deal you get when you convert other points into airline miles. A lot of travelers build up airline miles a different way, by transferring points from a bank credit card like American Express or Capital One, into an airline program, usually at a 1-to-1 ratio. That pipeline just got worse, and most people never noticed. Capital One cut its transfer ratio to Emirates Skywards from 1-to-1 down to 1,000 points for every 750 miles, a 25% cut, effective January 13, 2026. American Express made a similar move in December 2025, cutting its membership rewards transfer rates to 7 major airline partner programs. Neither change touched your airline account directly. Both changes made every future transfer into that account worth noticeably less. That means a balance can lose real value even if you never book a flight and never touch your airline account at all, simply because the pipeline feeding it just got a worse exchange rate. If you've ever moved bank points into an airline account expecting a certain number of miles to land, check the current rate before you transfer again, because the number you remember may no longer be the number you get. And then there's the move that doesn't hide behind a formula at all. Sometimes the airline just raises the price for everyone, overnight. British Airways raised Avios prices by roughly 10% on average across nearly every route on December 15, 2025, with some routes jumping as much as 20% depending on distance and cabin. The new pricing applied to any booking made after that date, no matter when the actual flight was scheduled to depart, so anyone who hadn't booked yet simply woke up to a more expensive trip. Qantas did almost the same thing 8 months earlier. An August 5, 2025 overhaul raised classic reward pricing by up to 20%, an average value drop of about 14.5% across a set of sample routes. On top of that, Carrier surcharges on a Sydney to London business class return jumped 35%, from around $473 to about $648. Put those two together, on two different continents, 8 months apart, and the pattern stops looking like a coincidence. This isn't a story about one airline having a rough quarter, it's a documented, dated pattern happening across the industry, which is exactly why the ninth trick matters so much. Here's the one that sounds like good news, and that's exactly why it's trick number 9. Most major American programs no longer expire your miles at all. Alaska, now combined with Hawaiian, along with Delta, JetBlue, Southwest, and United, all let a balance sit indefinitely as long as the account stays open. On the surface, that sounds like a win, and every one of these programs has marketed it that way. That relief hides a real trap. Removing the expiration date also removes the one thing that used to force a decision. When miles never expire, there's no clock pushing you to redeem them, so a balance just sits there quietly year after year, while every trick you just heard about keeps chipping away at what it's actually worth. The number on the screen stays the same. The trip it buys keeps shrinking. American Airlines is the exception worth noting, and not in a good way. AAdvantage miles still expire after 24 months with zero account activity, and the airline blocks third-party balance tracking tools from monitoring the account automatically, so members have to check manually or risk losing the balance outright. That means AAdvantage members are exposed on both ends at once: expiration on inactivity and devaluation on whatever survives. Either way, whether your program removed the clock or kept it running, the lesson underneath trick 9 is the same one this entire video has been building toward. A balance that just sits there isn't neutral. It's actively losing ground every single month that goes untouched. So if hoarding is the trap either way, here's the audit to run instead, and it takes about 10 minutes. Start by pulling up your actual current balance and the actual redemption search tool for the specific trip you've been saving for, not the number you remember from a few years back. Prices have moved, sometimes a lot, and the only number that matters is the one showing up right now. After that, price the same trip 2 ways side by side in cash and in miles, and divide to find the real value per mile you're looking at today. That tells you the truth, instead of the value the airline told you to expect when you first started collecting. If the program you're checking has already shown a pattern from this list, a scrapped chart, a status threshold hike, a transfer rate cut, treat today's price as close to the best price you're ever going to see. Book it or move the miles somewhere else, rather than waiting for a better moment that isn't coming, because nothing in this video suggests that moment is on its way. A program still worth staying loyal to, still has a transparent, published chart, hasn't cut its transfer partners in the last year, and hasn't raised its status thresholds recently either. If a program is missing all 3 of those things, that's your answer about where your loyalty actually belongs in 2026, and it's worth moving your future spending toward the program that still respects the deal it made with you. The number on your screen isn't the deal you were promised when you started collecting it, and only an audit this week protects whatever is left of it. Subscribe if you want the next breakdown the moment it's up, and drop a comment naming the program you want checked next.